Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Komo Webinar Series. This is our first webinar for 2023, so very exciting. We are very excited to have you with us, and it's been a very, very big year for us so far, but a bit more on that later. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Marley. I'm the Product Marketing Specialist at Komo. And just a quick reminder, I did send you guys, you all an email about a week ago saying, the main part of the webinar will take us to 12:45. But if you do have that extra 15 minutes at the end, we are going to take you through the back end of the platform and build a scratch and win together. And then you'll be able to play through that game and win some very, 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 very nice prizes. So if you do have that extra 15 minutes, you can stick around. And we've also got some of our exec team on the call today. So Joel, say hi.
I'm just loving this. I'm just gonna sit behind the scenes, watch you guys do your magic, and just enjoy. So any super sticky questions, I'm sure I can stick my nose in. But other than that, I'm just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying the Aussie and Marley show because you guys are the experts. So I'll let you do your thing.
Thanks, Joel. Joel's, I'm sure you all know Joel, but Joel's our CEO at Komo. So thank you, Joel. Yeah, we've got a lot of team on the call today. So any questions, shoot them. We got it. But a lot has been happening over at Komo Technologies. And speaking of, we have a very special guest with us today, who many of you probably already know, and that is Aussie. And Aussie is one of our newest Komo team members with the very long title coming on board as our Global Chief of Customer Engagement and Loyalty Partnerships. Hi, Oz.
Hi, Marley. Hi, everyone. And hi, team. Thanks for the support. It's quite exciting, isn't it? It's my first webinar. And there is quite a diverse, I guess, group of people on the webinar. So I thought just a quick snapshot of my background. So I have come from FMCG at Unilever across the 35 brands, 19 categories, all retail channels. Then went into agency with McCann Group, then into a specialised loyalty agency, redesigning and relaunching the Priceline Club Card program, NRMA and Fitness First. Then moved into Optus with Telco as a subject matter expert on loyalty, managing their partnerships, QFF, loyalty programs, perks, recharge and win across all campaigns, loyalty initiatives for consumer, SMB, enterprise, and Singtel. Then post that went to FinTech and really sunk my teeth into payments and billing and FinTech, working with Suncorp, MasterCard, and launching most recently the Bupa Rewards program. So my mind boggles when I think if I had Komo back then for all those programs, how different it would have been or could have been. So yeah, very exciting.
Absolutely. So basically you've done it all, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Jack of all trades.
Yeah, it really is. She really is. We're very excited to have you on board. It's been an amazing couple of weeks since you started. But that introduces our lovely Oz. We're going to kind of move on to kind of setting up a bit of context for what we're going to talk about today. I think we're all on this call glaringly aware of the changes that are happening in the marketing space these days, from your expanding privacy laws. By the end of next year, third-party cookies will no longer exist across many platforms, including Google search engine, and brands must pivot to remain relevant in that space. And we found some very, very hard-hitting stats on this topic of this paradigm shift that we're in. The one that really gets me is consumers wouldn't notice if 75% of brands they use disappeared. And the other one is that 50% of content that brands deliver is irrelevant, failing to deliver value, all of those kinds of things. So I think it's becoming more and more important for brands, as we all know, to invest in personalized, high-value content that builds engagement and long-lasting loyalty. So this will kind of set up the consumer trends, the consumer engagement trends that we're going to discuss today. But I just think it's important to have a bit of background. And I know we have some customers, some not on the call today. So in case you need a bit of a Komo refresher, we have a catchphrase over here, and we call it owning the moment. Our brand allows other brands to create gamified and interactive campaigns easily, fast, and effectively. So we use a self-service, no-code SaaS platform that allows brands to launch content and campaigns in days, not months, saving both time and money by eliminating development resources and streamlining the process for the marketer. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along today. But just wanted to give you a quick little introduction, and we're going to move on to our first topic of the day. In a minute, we are. First, I'm going to get you all to grab out your phones for me if you've got them and give this QR code a scan for me. This will take you to the engagement hub that we've built for today's session on the Komo platform. And there'll be a poll sitting there at the top for you, which will ask you about a question for each topic that we're going to discuss today, plus a little extra one. And as you're doing that, it'll get you to fill out a quick data capture form, I think, and then you'll answer some questions. And I can show you right here the live data coming through as you start to answer the questions using our live data feeds. So
quite interesting, isn't it, Ali?
As you start answering those questions, these little bars are going to start jumping around. As you can see, there they go. So we're asking you about interactive content here, which is our first topic of today. It's seeming to be a pretty even split there between who uses it as part of their strategy and who doesn't. And it's looking like lack of resources, which is what we thought comes out as the top biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Then we've got, is data collection important to your business? 93% say yes. Very big number. And 100% would like to understand their customers more. I think we all agree on that. Yeah. And then we've got, how much would you say your brand uses personalization? We've got that 62% will use it sometimes. And 12% don't personalize their tactics at all. That's interesting. Come back to that. We'll come back to that. And does your brand have a single view of customer? That's your favorite question, Oz. And multiple customer profiles to target. And 28% we need help here. Interesting. All right. Well, I think I've given you a couple minutes to answer that. It shouldn't have taken too much of your time. So we'll come back to those questions as we go along. And Oz and I will discuss some of those stats that you have given us very kindly. So we'll move on to that first topic now, Oz, which is interactive content. So interactive content, something we know a lot about over at Komo. And Oz, when you and I discussed this trend initially and talking about it as a part of the webinar, we talked a lot about COVID. And I would love for you to shed some light on why you think that's impacted this interactive content space.
I think over the last 3 years, COVID has created a huge disruption. But the one great thing to come out of it was the widely accepted use of QR codes. So QR codes completely meant nothing before COVID, but now they're a point of entry for marketing activities, venue check-in, ticketing, menu ordering, and a whole load of other things. So during this period, businesses were forced to expand their digital touch points in order to continue connecting with their customers. So it became increasingly important to think digital with a mobile first lens and get the design and mechanics of the interactive content right. So there can be emotional substance with interactive content, as it's a two-way experience that can lead to advocacy. And obviously this is the ultimate goal of your loyalty initiative, because the interaction is more than just a transaction. So brands that don't have a natural appeal, like, for example, utilities or insurance, have an opportunity to use interactive content to provide a personality to their brand and amplification to help build emotional connections with their customers.
Yeah, totally. I think that point on mobile first is really interesting. I saw a stat the other week that said 90% of LinkedIn traffic is now mobile, which is really interesting to me because I obviously use LinkedIn as part of my job, but I've always used it on desktop and not mobile. So it's really interesting to me that 90% of that's now coming from mobile.
There is a mind shift that needs to happen there, because there are still web designers out there that will design for desktop, and then when it comes to working it out if it works on your mobile, then it's almost like another build. So
it is.
I've gone down that road.
We all have.
So yeah, I think it's important to make sure you've got that mobile first lens.
Yeah, no, totally. I did just want to say, because I forgot to mention it at the start, but we do, if you at any point today want to come off mute and ask any questions, please feel free. We want it to be interactive. You're welcome to also send them in the question box, which is down below on the right-hand side of your screen. So absolutely feel free. We have time for questions at the end as well, but if you have anything pop up during, the floor is yours. Yeah, no, I completely agree that it's interactive content, especially that mobile first lens, is just becoming more and more important. We wanted to touch on kind of how the Komo platform allows you to create interactive content, just as we close out this topic of discussion and this trend. And we've got a quote here from Leah Jackson, who's the head of digital marketing for Goodman Fielder. And if you don't know Goodman Fielder, they are responsible for 25 of the most popular brands on Australian grocery store shelves. So things like your Praise mayonnaise, your Wonder White bread, and they are a Komo customer. And I think coming back to your point, Oz, about sorry, that ding dong has distracted my brain. And another one. I think to your point about spending a number of weeks or investment setting up these kinds of activities, Leah says here, the Komo tech allows us to execute with speed and agility, which is a must in FMCG. So I think that pretty well sums it up. So we're going to move on now and have a quick look back now that you've all had a look at that poll, and have a look at this interactive content question. So Oz, we've got 63% of people here on the final stat using interactive content as a part of their strategy. And as I thought, lack of resources has definitely come out on top as the biggest challenge. I want to come back to that stat at the end because lack of resources is completely eliminated when you use the Komo platform. But we'll come back to it. So trend number 2, I think really important here, Aussie and I were saying when we were kind of conceptualizing this webinar that I don't think either of us knew what zero-party data was until we started at Komo. So I think it's good to give a little bit of a wrap-up. You want to think of both zero-party and first-party data as data that you own as a brand. So it's not like third-party data where you buy it from another source. You collect it and you own it. And the other point that is universal across the two is that it's data that your customer knowingly and willingly gives to you rather than being pulled from, here, there, and everywhere. But the key point with your zero-party data, and something we'll touch on a bit later, is that this is information that informs customer behavior, customer preference, and the customer gives it to you for the purpose of with the hope of improving their customer experience in some way, shape, or form. So just to set that up, and I'm sure we're also all aware of the death of the cookie. when we say the death of the cookie, we mean that Google is phasing out the third-party cookie by the end of next year. As I said earlier, it will no longer be a way for brands to capture data. So Aussie will touch on this a little bit more, but Oz, let's talk to this stat first. So very hard-hitting one, 61% of high-growth companies are shifting to a first-party data strategy, while only 40% of negative growth companies say the same. Why do you think that is?
I think as personalization becomes more important, so does respecting the increased privacy needs of consumers. But this also makes personalization a little trickier. Right? They personalize, but they need to have privacy. And then how do you target? How do you, speak to your customers in a personalized way without jeopardizing, I guess, the privacy or how the data is kept? The way that customers interact with our platform ensures that they are fully committed to imparting data or participating in the campaigns. So it provides a level of comfort for our partners with the assurity of consent. So the death of the third-party cookie has a lot to do with this, right?
Yeah.
So there is increased pressure on marketers to find new ways to capture rich data. And that's why zero first-party data is better than third-party data. So my example, I think I wanted to reference was I was in a presentation actually with Joel, and he got us to play this game. And it was the setting is you're in a stadium, the QR code comes up, and then you scan the code, and then you're answering questions about the team that you're about to watch and who your dream team is, what scores you think. And in the middle of it, because it was sponsored by Macca's, there was a choice of, if you go to Macca's, what's your choice, beef burger or a vegan burger? And then you answer that and you keep going. And at the end of it, there is actually market research that's captured by 80,000 people in the stadium who's participating at the halfway point. Macca's has great data that has been provided in terms of understanding, what the customer wants. And at the end of it, they were rewarded with the burger of their choice. So it was the vegan or it was the beef, and it was an awesome way for them to understand more about their customer base. I love that example.
Yeah, no, I have a similar one. I did put together a case study recently for our one of our clients, Pep Express Transport, who are one of them, the major distributor of post in Perth and WA as a whole, actually. And they've been sponsoring for the last few seasons of the Big Bash League, the Perth Scorchers team, and they did a predictor with the platform for the home games of the season, getting people to hop on and predict, how many, I don't know much about cricket, but I'm pretty sure there was a question about how many wickets is someone going to get, how many runs, etc. I think that's cricket language. Thank you, Joel, for the thumbs up. But in there, at every home game they'd popped in a market research question, which was, maybe it was, did you know about Pep Transport before our sponsorship of the Scorchers? Or when you think of Pep Transport, what do you think of? And it kind of gave them the opportunity to grab people's attention with that game that they were already running. They're already engaged, but how do you then take advantage of that to gather information that informs, their brand awareness and their product awareness? So I think, it can be very powerful for sure.
I just want to add one further point on that. If you can imagine being in a stadium with 80,000 people, there is a belief that through the ticketing agency, you will know who bought the ticket. You don't know if that person actually attends, but you know that someone has bought 4 tickets. And what I think is quite outstanding is by having this activation in the middle of the game, you actually capture the details of the other 3 people who have attended for that ticket purchase. And I think there's power in that, because you will maximize that sponsorship opportunity by speaking to everybody who is actually attending.
Yeah,
and with consent, right? So it's
awesome.
awesome.
Exactly. So closing that topic off, that trend, I think we can say Komo helps you collect data non-intrusively, which is a very, very key point. But I think we'll have another quick look at that data from the data question in the poll you did at the start. So you got 90% saying yes, data collection is important to my business, and 10 saying not really. Interesting. And then would you like to understand your customers more? That ended up at 96%. Absolutely, I do. So, and I think our personalization topic will cover that a little bit more. So we will move on to that topic now. So I think it's kind of a good flow into this topic of conversation. So this is definitely the beefiest topic, the trend of today, and it's Aussie's favourite topic, and that is personalisation. Yes, but first I think we'll draw our attention to another epic stat, which is that companies that grow faster drive 40% more of their revenue from personalisation than their slower growing counterparts. So Oz, let's expand on that.
Yeah, well, you know that personalization is a huge topic, and not everyone can do that. Can I give you an example? When I was working on the Priceline program, they were working off customer segmentation that was mosaic. And so we all thought, yes, well, let's do 35 versions of the 35 profiles of the e-newsletter for Priceline.
And how often did you send that email?
Well, that had to go out every week, because every week there was new specials, new products launching, there was new campaigns going off. And then very quickly we realized that the nuances between the differences of the 35 programs were very, very slim. So we went back to the drawing board and we said, right, this is just, you know, analysis for paralysis isn't really helping the greater cause. And so we decided that, why do customers shop in Priceline? There were three reasons why they go. One is it was a beauty destination, and that's what we were building for Priceline. And the second one was pharmaceutical needs as a chemist and getting their pharmaceutical products. And the third was, yeah, they loved being the first to know. So we prided ourselves on being the first to know. You would sign up to the Priceline Club Card program. Now, in contrast, when I went into Optus, as the subject matter expert on loyalty, coming off a highly personalized loyalty program, I asked the question, so do we know who our customers are? Oh, yes, we know who they are. Oh, awesome. Yes, we can build a loyalty program around that. So do we have a single view of customer? And they said, we've got a single view of the customer who has a postpaid product, who have a prepaid product, who have a home product. And I said, so what if you have all three? Oh, you'll get all three comms. So that's when it was obvious that we couldn't go with a proper loyalty program as such. And we had to first go with a rewards program and help build profiles that way. So it's really dependent on where you are in terms of understanding your customers before you can leap into personalization at any level.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's very interesting, like when we've talked a lot while we've been putting this webinar together about how to effectively personalize to everyone, to your entire audience, having a singular view of customer is actually really important. And I think, you know, what we talked about is how you can actually be too granular. There is a line you can cross in personalization where you go too far. Where it's not actually a good experience because it's too granular. And I think you're right. Like you got to think of those. Maybe it's 2 or 3 or 4, not 35 reasons why a customer, what solutions you can provide to that customer's problem, and look at it from that perspective instead of, okay, what are all these tiny nuances that we can target.
Should we throw out the question to those on the webinar if they've got any challenges with personalization?
If anyone wants to jump off mute, we'd love to hear and have a bit of a conversation about personalization and any challenges that you've had or questions that you have about it. Or if you just want to kind of share a bit of your experience with personalization tactics, we'd absolutely love to hear from you.
Or you can put it in the chat. So
you can also do that. You don't have to come off mute.
Because personalization is a big conversation, right? And that is different for every segment and every business. So I've always made the recommendation when I've been working with brands to crawl, walk, run. This is probably the best approach. And then data is the foundation of personalization. So without the data, it's very hard to do personalization. So to effectively personalize, you have to have a single view of customer or build profiles around your target segments that you know about within your base. If you don't have these things, you could potentially look at a rewards portal as a starting point. And I have found providing your customers with choice and a test and learn approach can help set preferences and build profiles. Or it's a way to flag and tag rewards customers accept or they don't accept. This way, when a business critical trigger event is due for a customer, you could offer the 3 rewards you know they have recently accepted and taken. It's important to note that personalization is unique, right, to the stage of your program.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that is a very good place to start in terms of, you know, if you're starting with the crawl, walk, one approach. Crawl, think of crawl as, okay, let's serve them up 3 different options, see what they pick and use that data moving forward. So I think, yeah, that's super, super key. But does anyone want to jump off mute or send in a challenge or a question while we're here before we move on?
Just a question from me, Aussie, just building on your last point. I think one of the key, I guess questions for brand owners is around, when and how to personalize. So in your experience, do you have, certain categories or certain shopping missions that you think are more important to personalize versus others?
I think the reason you would personalize is if you needed to build a dialogue with your customer, and really depends on your product life cycle, your recency and frequency of shopping missions, what you're trying to achieve. Because there were occasions when we've built, initiatives, and we thought, yes, we've got to get it personalized, and we've got to get it. My example on Priceline, whereas it made a lot more sense to start with why do they actually shop in the store. Then we understood what they like to shop in the store. Then we could take it to a personalized level. And we actually worked with the category managers to understand within Priceline, what are they trying to do with the category to grow it? And what brands do we support in trying to do that? So there was a whole covert program called the Supplier Program that I designed and created with Priceline. And that was actually targeting specific brands within categories for them to take the initiative to grow the category. So we worked with the brand and the retailer to help achieve those business objectives. But yeah, personalization is really important when you're trying to build a relationship and it's business critical.
Yeah, something we touched on too, Oz, when we were talking about it was how sometimes it can probably seem like that the topic of data capture and capturing rich data can kind of rub against personalization, and how people want more personalized content, and they want more they want brands to understand them, but they also want more data privacy.
I mean, we used to work with brands where it was, okay, Aussie, we're going to do the AHA test. So say, oh, we're going to collect data. So what? Oh, so that we can speak to them more. So what? So that they'll understand that, there's a important, I guess, need that this brand is satisfying. And then we started to really hone in on the so what to get to the aha. So at 3:30, people have a low point, they reach for something, and we wanted to be that answer to reach for a cup of soup instead of a Tim Tam.
Gotcha. So it's tricky, isn't it? I feel like,
Mm.
I feel like my question for you would be, if you're trying to personalize to the extent where you can see those, those key reasons, like you had at Priceline when you went from your 35 versions to your 3 versions. What kind of data helps you build the profiles that drives that kind of strategy?
So for that one, we actually re-segmented the base around the mission shop. So there was a pharmacy. You could see the clear shoppers who were shopping the category of only pharmaceutical brands and the pharmacy shop, and you could see the customers who would also do the pharmacy brands but would dabble in some of the beauty products. So where Priceline wanted to shift to was to create the Bunnings for women, and that was our brief. They wanted more women to come into Priceline and shop as a beauty destination to help increase their revenue.
Yeah, so you're creating the Bunnings snag of the Priceline world, is what you're telling me.
That's right. And instead of a sausage sizzle, you could go and get free products, because there was always something being sampled, and so there was a goodie bag. And so you would go into Priceline to collect your goodie bag.
And that's your snag.
Mm.
Craig, have you got a question for us?
I do. Hi. Just a question around, with the personalization, in the sales cycle, when would you think it's appropriate to put personalization in? Would you put personalization in from the get-go? Would you go with a general campaign first and bring it in to close the deal? And then from a conversion perspective, when you bring in the personalization, do you have any stats on what the extent that it would increase conversion once you personalize?
It's really, it is kind of dependent on sectors. And I know that when I was working in telco, we tried to be personalized from the get-go. So from when you signed up, we should know who you are, and then try and keep it personalized throughout your journey with Optus, and at what point we're trying to upsell you, cross-sell you, or recontract you. So it's really dependent on the sector. But for example, I know that there is a fine line where it could come off as quite creepy, because I don't want people knowing everything that I'm shopping, and so that's why I think Komo it can do it in a gamified way where you're participating quite openly, and it's quite fun. And so if it is fun, then people will tend to go, oh yeah, to win that, I'm more than happy to give. But when brands try and build, we need to build an email base, let's just try and collect emails. And in the early days, that was the approach, so we could personalize. But it didn't really work, because people were like, well, I don't want to get emails, and it doesn't really make sense. So really, for personalization to work, there has to be proper context. And I think that's where, contextual marketing really came to the fore. And I know that when NBA came in, next best action, there was a lot of predictive modeling that came with that. And I think the expectation is, when you get to that point and you got predictive modeling, you do expect the business to know who that person is in terms of personalization. Or, I've been a customer with you for so long, you should know the things that I like. So I think there's also expectations from the customers that you should know who they are. So I would advise from the get-go that you try and understand who your customers are and the product journey that they go on to stay with you.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Oz.
Asking, did that help?
Yeah, we got a nod. We got a nod from Craig. I was going to say, I think it's quite interesting that, when you're personalizing, you do have to consider, obviously we've said data is the foundation of personalization. I think that's a very key point. That you don't, if you're just starting and you're trying to figure out where personalization fits into the sales funnel, I think you can be collecting data that can help you personalize without starting personalization straight away. And you can build on that strategy without, jumping into it all at once.
Yeah.
You can learn about your customer and have that singular customer view before you start too.
Yeah, because
part of fast rule.
Getting personalized is quite challenging, right? So if I take the example of Optus, where we were like, yes, we know Aussie is our customer and she's the primary, account holder. We're going to speak to Aussie. And then I pass that mobile to my son. Then now my son's getting all the emails to or getting SMS'd all the offers. And then what we did was we slowly removed any occasion that we weren't certain that was the actual person we wanted to speak to. And the way we worked around it to try and help build, I guess, more data around our customers and their preferences was we would do some, activity where it was because you're awesome, just because you're awesome, and we would offer them 3 offers that were already sitting on the site. Or we'd be trying a new partner and then we'd be sending it out, just because you're awesome, or happy anniversary from when you took on that product with us. And, and happy birthday was obviously, the ultimate. So when it came to recontracting that number, then we would get a gauge of, they're choosing, festival tickets, not sure. They're choosing, Rebel Sports voucher, not really what I used to take. In the older days where I'd get taking child tickets. And so we tried to profile that way and understand by still offering customers push and pull and flag and tag
all the double up words.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've definitely covered that topic. I think important to touch on the fact that Komo does help support personalization in real time. And if you're going to stick around for that last 15 minutes of the session, you will see that absolutely firsthand. So we will move on. But I think I want to, before we move on any further, we'll have a look at this personalization question because it's a pretty big one, and where we ended up with these stats Oz. So that biggest portion there is we use it sometimes, 62% use personalization sometimes. And interestingly, that we don't personalize at all is 15%. And then you've got, does your brand have a single view of customer? Multiple profiles to target. Hopefully not 35. Hopefully not. And we need help here, 27%. But you got that 15% that know exactly who they're targeting. So go them. That's fantastic. Now, earlier we spoke about market research questions and throwing them in. Here you go. Here's our market research question. Oz has come on board, as you may see, that little loyalty partnership is part of her oh my goodness, I've just had it. Just forgot to speak English. Her title. And she is going to be helping us kind of launch our product into the loyalty and reward space even more. And so we definitely wanted to ask a question of the audience here, of customers and other contacts, in terms of, do you currently have a loyalty program? And it's only 26% of people on the call, Oz. And if so, do we feel like it's lacking in engagement? In parts, 57%, absolutely 29%, and nope, 14% say their engagement levels are great.
Awesome.
That's interesting. But I was just going to say, do we want, before I move on to like final questions and wrapping up, anyone that said in this question that they feel like their program is lacking engagement in parts, does anyone want to come off mute and share what parts those might be? Because I'd be very curious to know, if you don't mind. You don't have to, but. Anybody? Anybody want to share? This is my anybody want to share dance. That's okay. That's okay. You don't have to. It was just, I was just curious, but I will ponder on that later.
And I just mention one more thing, Marley. I just want to say, a loyalty program in the old days is normally quite a heavy investment. So it'd be millions of dollars. And what Komo is setting out to do is to bust that myth, because it doesn't need to be expensive and it doesn't need to go forever. So if you wanted to create a POC, a proof of concept, or just an initiative over summer or an initiative over a short season, I would also suggest that you come and speak to us, because we're working with clients who have now taken the next step after doing a number of engagements or a number of activities to help understand their customers and putting in place a shorter, smaller version of a loyalty program to dip their toe in the water before that heavy investment. Jess Pipe.
Hi, Aussie. It's the Zoo Republic here. Hi, Joel. Long time no see. We're answering our questions on behalf of a lot of our clients. That's why it's a bit variable.
Okay.
But in relation to, so it's not a specific question, Marley, about what you asked, but more, is there time or is there an opportunity, Aussie or Marley, to look at one of the case studies that Komo has, other than the one you've talked about, that is loyalty specific in terms of the result or what was great about it? Because that would be very interesting.
Joel, do you have anything comes on top of your head?
I'm just thinking of maybe Foxtel as an example, or
Definitely.
Yeah, look, David, good to hear your voice again, mate. Yeah, Foxtel did come to mind. Obviously, we probably can't share too many stats about the campaign right now without consent. But what I do know is that they have shared some really great insights around their so the Foxtel loyalty, Foxtel Rewards program we've been involved with for a couple of years now. And where we're adding a tremendous amount of value is around the engagement piece. So in previous years, they've had win a prize, fill out a form in 20 words or less, tell us why you should win this prize. Really simple, basic mechanics, which lacked engagement and really lacked the ability to connect with people about things they're passionate about. And you're adding in that gamification element to that process where people can prove their fandom, take on their friends, those types of things. And that's when it takes it to the next level of engagement and therefore loyalty as well. So Foxtel knows that if a Foxtel Rewards customer engages with the program only twice, I believe it is, across the year, the propensity to renew with Foxtel is a staggering, like, in the realm of 70-80% higher if they're engaging with the rewards program.
Yeah, so, we had on Optus too, didn't we, in terms of people who were in the perks program and staying on the network.
Yeah.
And if it's not confidential, Joel, then is Komo always on with Foxtel with regard to its loyalty program and offers that are going out?
Yes, it is. So at any point in time, Foxtel they are probably one of our favourite customers in regards to the fact that they are full self-service. So our customer success team will be ensuring best practice, onboarding new team members, etc. But they have, like every customer, has full access to the back end, and they're creating this really interactive gamified competitions and content on a weekly basis to better connect and engage with their rewards members. And it is always on. At any point in time, they might have multiple different engagement hubs where they're bringing in their brand partner as well. So they've done the Macca's hubs, they've done the Crust Pizza scratch and win cards. So they're not only engaging with their rewards customers, but they're also in a way commercializing the whole process as well by bringing in partners to, I guess, connect with their customers at the same time.
Yeah, great. And so they're, when you say they're doing it themselves, so their marketing team and the brands that are involved are uploading their own creative and content, running their own offers with just support from you.
Correct. So not just uploading the content, literally building, and as you'll see in just a second, how easy it is to build these games, literally building a scratch and win from scratch in minutes. Or one of the 50 plug and play games, competitions, rewards, etc. that is in the platform now. It truly is like we onboard you, we give you the practice, the best practice, and our knowledge base as far as how best to create content based off your demographic, and all the video walkthroughs, etc. that we have now in the platform. You really can run it yourself, and then it just depends on the level of support that you like. We can offer professional services as well to do it for you, but probably 75% of our customers run it themselves now.
Great. I'll stop hogging the microphone and throw back, but thanks. And we might come back offline in a separate conversation about some of this as well. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Not a worry. Wonderful questions. And Joel, I think I said earlier about how you just mentioned then about how easy it is to build the games, but I mentioned how it's literally instant, and you will see that in just a moment. So I think we're going to go on to our last slide, which is I know we've had a few questions, but if anyone has that was all personalization kind of based. If anyone has anything from the first two topics, so interactive content or data collection, specifically, first and zero party data, if anybody has any, feel free. Now is your window of opportunity. This is my waiting dance again. No? Okay. Oz.
Yep.
We're wrapping up the main portion of today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful getting to hear some of your incredible insights and experience. And for those of you on the call today, Aussie is going to be a part of the Komo Webinar Series quite heavily. So after this webinar, we'll send you an email. It's got another little poll in it, 3 super quick questions that ask you kind of what you want to see next, and that'll kind of be super instrumental in how Aussie's gonna run some more content around loyalty and rewards more specifically. So I'll send that off to you all a little bit later. So for any of you who can't stick around, but you are interested in learning more, you feel free. QR code on the screen is our book a demo page. We'll give you a completely personalized introduction to the platform in terms of what it can help you achieve, what you can help your brand achieve. So if you can't stick around, feel free to scan this one. If you can stick around, it's time to have some fun. Obviously, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I did pre-build some parts of this, just so you wouldn't have to sit and watch me drag and drop them, not because it's hard. So I'm just going to quickly show you how a couple of little different bits and pieces that I think are super relevant to everyone on the call today. But we're going to upload a cover for this scratch and win. And you've got Aussie's gorgeous face there, along with a little sneak peek of what your prize might be at the end. In terms of gameplay, I think it's really important to touch on how you can set prize limits and the probability of the prizes. So everyone on the call today will actually win a prize. So we've set it up a little bit differently, but all of these things are completely customizable. And then, of course, how you style the card, etc., is completely customizable. Adding a form to collect what kind of data you want to collect. And then I think it's also probably important to touch on adding SMS and coupons to your games, which makes it very, very easy to personalize, like we've been talking about. and deliver, remarketing content that is really highly relevant to your audience. So I think the game now is going to be ready to roll. So if I can get you guys to all share, grab your phones, my apologies, and give this QR code a scan and jump back on the hub. As soon as you've done that, I'll press publish and it'll be there like this. You got that, Oz?
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting the questions.
Yep, hasn't been published yet.
No, I'm going to pop it up right now. I just want you to see how quick it happens. All right, ready, set, and go. So when you hit publish, you do, obviously Joel was talking to best practice before. You get a little checklist that you can tick off, but we don't need to check that because we know. And away you go. So now when you're on the hub, I'll bring back up that QR code in case anybody needs it. But you're welcome to play through the game and win a prize. We've got 6. I'll just come back and stop sharing my screen. Anybody else still need that QR code? Just chuck your hand up and I can go back to it. Or is everyone good to go?
Let's go.
Okay. All right. Aussie very kindly sourced us some Byron Bay cookies, Pride Edition Byron Bay cookies.
There you go.
And if you win, you can actually have a nice little business chat with Oz over cookies, which you'll get a nice personalized SMS about through the platform, or you will win a Komo merch pack that you can come and have a chat with Aussie about and pick up. We'll post it out to you, however you want to roll. But just a bit of fun to show you exactly how the platform works and kind of give you an idea of just how quick and easy it is and how effective it is to create something so easily. So I think, yeah, that's Aussie in my favorite part. No coding required, baby.
Yeah.
But that is, I think we've pretty much just hit, it's 9:58 by my clock, so I think we've perfectly hit time. 12:58 for the eastern states. I'm over in Perth this week. But thank you all so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure. As I said, you will have a bit of a say in what you see next here if you jump on that email that I send you today and answer that poll. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Talk to everyone soon.
Thanks, everyone.